Hello friends, welcome to Technique. This is Nirmal here, and in this video we're going to do the camera review of the Moto G6. So Moto series has been the G5s Plus, and the G5 has been known for quite good camera capabilities in the 15K price segment. Now we have the Moto G6 with upgraded cameras, so we again have a dual camera setup, and this time around Moto has improved the selfie camera as well on the G6. So other than that, the device is powered by the Snapdragon 450 octa-core chipset. It comes with 3 and 4GB RAM, and it has a 5.7-inch Full HD Plus resolution display. Now talking about the camera hardware. So this device comes with a dual camera setup. It has a 12 megapixel primary camera, f-stop 1.8, and a secondary 5 megapixel camera for depth sensing, and it also has LED flash included and face detection autofocus. Now talking about the front camera. So the Moto G6 sold in India has a 16 megapixel shooter with LED flash for low light selfies with f-stop 2.0 aperture. So that's the camera hardware on the Moto G6. Now let's go straight into the camera interface. So this is the new camera interface of the Moto G6. So you can see that at the bottom you can see the option for taking photos and videos, and here we have the other modes. So a couple of interesting modes. One is portrait mode is included, then there is cutout mode, spot color, then a text scanner, and face filters are included. So cutout is you can select an object and you can cut out that object from the image. Then spot color is you can select a color from the image, and only that color will be available in the image. Rest all colors will be changed to black and white. So that's another option. Then there is slow motion, time lapse, and face filters included for the video modes. So going to the settings, you can see that there is some additional options like quick capture, then video resolution maximum is 1080p resolution at 60 fps and full HD at 30 fps. There is also object recognition included and landmark recognition. So those are available in other Moto devices as well. So now going to the regular mode, you can see there is option for manual mode as well. You can go for auto mode as well as manual mode. Then there is another important aspect, there is active photos. So it will create a small animation of the photos before you take the capture. So this has been there in quite a lot of phones, and this is the active photos. Then we have the HDR mode and also the flash included. Then if you go to the video recording, you can see that there is image stabilization included. You can see stabilization included. You can turn it off as well. Then there is option to turn on the torch light. So these are the camera options included in the Moto G6. Now let's have a look at the daylight captures taken with this device. So here are the daylight captures taken with the Moto G6. So you can see that in the daylight captures, the color quality looks pretty good, and the overall clarity also looks good. The colors are also punchy, and details are not lost even if you zoom in the images. So that's something pretty good from Motorola in the Moto G6. So the dual camera on the Moto G6 does pretty well in the daylight conditions, and also the HDR mode adds a bit of details when there is a lot of shadows in the image. So HDR mode also works quite well in the Moto G6. So those were the daylight captures taken with the Moto G6. So overall we are pretty satisfied with the performance offered on the Moto G6. Now let's have a look at the close-up images. So here are the close-up images taken with the Moto G6. Again, you can see that good details and good sharpness levels are available in the photos taken in close-up images. One thing we noticed was at times the images were a bit shaky when you're taking extreme close-up images, but not always. At times we did notice that the images were slightly shaky in nature, but otherwise the close-up images did a really good job, and the color reproduction was again very good on the Moto G6. So overall the rear camera, the 12 megapixel camera, did a pretty good job with the daylight conditions, both the landscape photos as well as the close-up images. Now next up, let's have a look at the low light photos. So with f-stop 1.8 aperture, there is good amount of detail in the low light captures, and this is definitely better than what we have seen on the Moto G5s Plus, and also the clarity of the photos looks quite good for this price segment. But at the same time, you can notice that when you zoom in extreme low light conditions, even though the details are the images are well lit and details are present, there is also noise added to the images in extreme low light condition. But we feel this is quite okay in this price segment, the sub 15K price segment. This is definitely a good low light performance, we would say, from the Moto G6. So that was the low light performance of the Moto G6. Now next step, let's talk about the portrait samples. So portrait has not been a strength of the Moto series or the Lenovo smartphones. We can see that the Moto G5s Plus was not that great in terms of the portrait samples. Here we can see that it's slightly improved in terms of the portrait samples, and there is also depth editor wherein you can change the bokeh once you have taken the image using the depth editor. But here again you could see that the portrait samples looked not really accurate in terms of the edge detection, and also at times it was blurry in nature. So portrait has improved, but not to the level of class leading portrait samples. Now let's have a look at the video recording sample taken with the Moto G6. So you can see that the Moto G6 camera supports a video recording at 1080p resolution at 60 fps as well as 30 fps, and there is a stabilization included for the video recording, and the video footage looks pretty good. Good detailing, good dynamic range as well, and overall this is definitely one of the good video recording available on this in this price segment. So definitely video has improved, and good clarity and overall details looks pretty good on the Moto G6. So if you are shooting more videos, you won't be disappointed with the Moto G6. Now finally, the selfie experience. So this phone comes with a 16 megapixel camera with a LED flashlight for low light selfies. So initially this device was launched with an 8 megapixel shooter, but in India this comes with a 16 megapixel shooter, and the selfies turned out to be pretty good. The color reproduction is pretty spot on, and details are pretty good in the selfies. But unfortunately, one of the missing aspects in the selfies is that there is no portrait mode in the selfies. So that's definitely a downside, because most of the camera smartphones even in sub 10k price segment offer portrait portrait photography in the selfie camera. So that's one of the disappointing aspects, but otherwise the selfie camera was definitely one of the good aspects of the Moto G6. So this is the front facing camera sample taken with the Moto G6. It's a 16 megapixel shooter capable of recording videos in 1080p resolution, and this is the 1080p sample you have taken with the front facing camera. So you can judge yourself how good the clarity of the video is, and also the audio output from the video. So summing up, how good is the Moto G6 as a camera smartphone? So we feel that the Moto G6 definitely is a good camera smartphone in this price segment. It offers good details, good color reproduction, overall clarity also looks good. The video recording is improved with stabilization offered, and the selfie camera also works pretty good. So overall this is definitely one of the good camera smartphones in the sub 15k price segment. But is it the best camera smartphone? We'll have to wait and see when we compare this device with the Redmi Note 5 Pro, the Asus Zenfone Max Pro, and also the Realme One. So stay tuned for all those videos to see if Moto G6 is indeed the best camera smartphone in the sub 15k price segment. That was the camera review of the Moto G6. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you plan to buy this device, this is available exclusively on Amazon. Both the variants are available for 13,999 and 15,999 respectively. So this is Nirmal signing off. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you in our next video. Have a great day.